Hello Internet, Seth Skorkowski, and today we'll be discussing the Call of Cthulhu adventure, The Darkness Beneath the Hill. Written by Christopher Smith Adair and published in 2016, the scenario belongs to the Doors to Darkness collection, released by Chaosium. For those not familiar with Doors to Darkness, it's a collection of 7th edition scenarios specifically aimed for novice keepers, and the production quality is absolutely wonderful. The Darkness Beneath the Hill is the first scenario in the collection. Including maps, art, and handouts, the entire scenario is 21 pages and should be playable in a single session. The book also comes with 10 pre-generated characters that are usable for the scenario, so new GMs and players can pretty much grab and go to get down to the adventure. The scenario takes place in Providence, Rhode Island, where the characters have been summoned by their friend Josh Winscott. Josh has made a strange discovery beneath his new house and has asked the PCs for help. The adventure is essentially a dungeon crawl, and players and keepers experienced with D&D should find this a refreshing throwback or as a good bridge-over introduction to Call of Cthulhu-style adventures. Now, for any players in the audience, if this sounds like fun, please tell your keeper to come check this review out and see if it might be a good adventure for you. But from here on forward, I'm going to be digging deeper into the scenario, and it will be packed with spoilers. So unless you want to ruin the surprise, I suggest you stop here and have a great rest of your day. Okay, keepers, let's cut this open. Like I said, The Darkness Beneath the Hill is a dungeon crawl. My own players had expressed some nostalgia for the old days of D&D.
Hey, don't get me wrong, I love hanging out in libraries all day, but sometimes I just miss the good old days when it was simple. Dark tunnels, light sources, marching order, pit traps, all that kind of crap. Good times.
The setup is that their old friend Josh Winscott has discovered a tunnel beneath his recently inherited familial home. Josh suspects that they might be part of an old slave tunnel system that many have theorized about, but no one has ever proven exists in Providence. Josh wants to keep this tunnel secret until he can actually prove that the legends are true. He and the PCs will make arrangements to meet the next day at his house and explore the tunnels together. Now, my players had come all the way down from Arkham to meet with Josh, and in order to explain why they went to his house and then left his house and then came back the next day, I had Josh recommend that they stay at a hotel because his house was so trashed due to all the renovations, and he didn't have any staff on hand because he had let them all go in order to work on the tunnel in secret. New keepers might want to keep that in mind just in case their own PCs aren't local to Providence either. There's nothing that actually tells the PCs that they should probably investigate any of this beforehand. For a game designed for new keepers, I'm going to go ahead and assume that we're looking at new players as well. And the idea of going to the library first to research everything isn't going to be in their standard operating procedure like it is for a veteran Call of Cthulhu player. So keepers, during the initial conversation with Josh, have him sort of chuckle at his own ignorance about his own family history. Have him say that because their family fortune was rooted in slavery, his family never ever talked about that out of shame. Maybe one day I should go to the library and look up my own family history. This might clue the players into considering just that option.
Oh, great, another library game. Just can't get enough of that Dewey Decimal System.
While not necessary for the adventure, there's a lot of great backstory that some research can uncover. However, the information about the Winscott family and the history of slavery in Rhode Island isn't provided in handout form. So what I did is that I printed it up and made my own handouts using the text from the module and gave that to my players that had made their library search rolls. But there is one handout that the PCs can find, and that's an old letter that tells of the dark history of the tunnels, the horrible death that occurred down there, and why the Winscott family bricked it up to begin with. Just reading this letter led my PCs to say,
So, it sounds like there was some sort of monster down there and they bricked it up to keep it out. And Josh is currently at that house alone, ripping the wall down, and yeah, I'm just gonna assume Josh ain't gonna be making our lunch date today.
The PCs rush to the house to discover that the bricked passage is now open and that Josh isn't there. Since my players were debating what that could mean, I had them roll some psychology rolls to realize that Josh was so excited about these tunnels that it was almost certain that once he'd widened the hole enough, he would have gone ahead and gone inside alone without waiting. As the PCs began to explore the tunnels, they discover a side passage that brings them deeper and deeper, finally coming to a strange and ancient artifact that seems to be older than all of human history. The module provides several great maps for the tunnel system, including the passage from Josh's basement, the main cavern complex, and a close view of the lair and laboratory of Srahis. It's not pronounceable by humans, so it's the serpent man wizard that rules down there. One thing that I love about this adventure is that the art for the discoveries is seriously top-notch. Chaosium went above and beyond, providing some stellar art for this book, and I can't praise it enough. In addition to the serpent person, there are his two gas servants and the horribly degenerated descendants of the slaves and slavers they captured well over a century before. The module is very sandboxy in that there's no set location for any of the encounters, and keepers should make the bad guys move around, and if the players spend too much time in any one location, they're sure to be caught by somebody. One gag that I did that worked very well was that I had one of the PCs make a spot roll. The PC failed it, and one of the degenerates reached out from the wall and picked his pocket. There's many passages down here that are too small for people, but are very easy for the degenerates to navigate. Later, they saw one of the creatures dart down a side passage. When they got there, they spotted the wallet the PC who had been robbed laying 8 feet back into a crevice that was too narrow for any of them to enter. I told the PC that unless noted on his sheet, all the money that his character was carrying was in that wallet. Since he had a credit rating of 75, they spent a lot of time trying to get that wallet out of the crevice. Eventually, they'll discover the lair of Srahis, the serpent person who lives down there. Depending on how much the PCs have stopped to look at the carvings, the crazy singing-headed pipe organ, the Temple of Yig, or whatever encounters they've had, the PCs might be a bit low on sanity at this point. I had 2 of them go indefinitely insane the moment they walked in here, and that was the worst moment for it to happen. It was awesome. There's also Josh Winscott in this room. He has completely lost his mind by this point, and the PCs will need to carefully guide him out of here safely. Rescuing Josh is the mission, and once they do, they can breathe safe. Providing, of course, that they can forget the little fact that there's an ancient monsters living down there in the underworld below them, and there are no telling how many more there might be. What happens after that is up to you and your players.
And that's the only real problem with this adventure. We loved it. It was a total blast. And if you're doing this as a one-shot, you're not going to have any problems at all. However, if this is part of a larger campaign, then you better be ready for what happens next. You see, the million-year-old carvings and that creepy pipe organ and that jeweled shrine to Yig, they're all still down there, and the players might try to spread the word or cash in on that. I mean, I'm not saying that PCs are the type that are going to seek fortune and glory, but wait, no, that is exactly what I'm saying. So what happens if they spread the word about this discovery and provide actual proof of what they found? Are people going to panic? I mean, there are monsters living underneath the city. This module is meant for novice keepers, and a novice keeper might not know how to handle this in case the PCs try to spill the beans on the mythos. So let me give you a few options of what to do in case that's what your players try. So option number 1. Shortly after the PCs rescue Josh and they get out safely, they leave to get some supplies, so they can come back and they can dig out those million dollar priceless artifacts and everything, right? Well, Josh, he leaves the house too, and he heads on down to the store and he picks up a couple boxes of dynamite, and then he goes back to the house, down into the tunnel, and he blows all that stuff to hell because he absolutely hates those things down there, and he is a little bit crazy, so why not? The PCs, without any proof, are going to be branded as frauds from everybody when they're out spouting about these monsters living underneath Providence, Rhode Island. Now, This might hurt their reputation in some circles, or it might actually help them in others. Just depends on what sort of circles your PCs run in. Option 2. The PCs provide proof. Let's say they get something out of there, they show it to the world. Well, then the federal government notices, and then the feds, they swoop in, just like at the end of Lovecraft's The Shadow over Innsmouth, and they storm those tunnels. Explosions are heard, maybe even the ground shakes as all these things are getting dynamited down below. Then the newspapers tell some sort of BS story about how this was all had to do with bootleggers and the war on liquor. And then the PCs, they get paid off and all of their proof is completely confiscated by the federal government. Option 3. Let's say the Serpent Man is killed at the end. Wait, maybe he had a buddy. Not a buddy that lived there, but a buddy that was somewhere far away. And they used to gate back and forth and chat about whatever it is serpent people chat about. Anyway, this Serpent Man buddy, he finds out that his friend is dead. And he goes back and he collapses the tunnel. Maybe he even floods it. That way nobody is ever going to find out about them. And the secret of the serpent people in Yig is completely safe and impossible to find. Also, they might come for revenge against the person that killed their buddy. So if the PCs are out there spouting off to every newspaper and university and trying to write a book about all these ancient things that they found, it's not going to be too hard for that Serpent Man to come back for revenge. Once again, these are all ideas to consider if you don't want the PCs to become rich and famous and spill the beans on all the mythos activity. Call of Cthulhu ain't like other games. And a great way to teach players that is to turn their attempts at sharing the secrets of the mythos into them being branded crazies and frauds, and then witnessing the government cover-up that hides everything. If they had read their Lovecraft, they should have known this was going to happen.
My few criticisms aside, The Shadow Beneath the Hill is a seriously fun adventure. If you're still new to the game, or if you're just looking for a good one-session adventure, I recommend you check it out.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, just tap that little like button down there and feel free to ask any questions or comments below. I like hearing from you guys. And if you want to see some more of our stuff, just hit the subscribe button and check us out. But until next time, gamers, you have yourselves a great day.